My name is Angie, and I am an awful gamer.
I get easily confused by modern control schemes with all the various buttons involved.
Y to jump, A to attack, X to reload, B for melee and first aid.
I have a hard time grasping the physics behind 3D platforming. I lack the quick reflexes and proper hand-to-eye coordination for old-school games. Even worse, I get frustrated easily and my playing ability just goes even further downhill.
And yet, I still do it. It's not that I'm a glutton for punishment. It's just that there are enough games out there that are really fun to play, even if you're not that good. So I've created this series for people like me to let you know that no matter what your skill level, you can still be a gamer.
Just because you're not good at video games doesn't mean you can't play them. In this day and age, we're all playing video games of one type or another. Between Facebook, smartphones, and tablets, we all have access to free, easy to play, and absolutely addicting games.
The game I'm highlighting today is an excellent jumping off point from those kind of casual games, but it has just enough classic video game cred that you might just feel like a real gamer.
The Street Fighter video game series is exceedingly well known and popular. While not as notorious as its main competitor Mortal Kombat, it has its own reputation thanks to the So Bad It's Good movie adaptation and the fact that the second game had enough remakes and remasters to make you think they were never going to make a true sequel. But of course they have, moving up to number 4, which has, of course, had 2 of its own updates by now.
Like most people my age, I've played this game a fair bit.
I was always partial to Chun-Li in the original, not just because she was the only girl character, but because her lightning kick could be executed by just mashing down on the kick buttons over and over.
True story. My first boyfriend and I spent the day we met pumping quarters into a Street Fighter Alpha arcade machine. He beat me most of the time. Everyone does. In order to excel in any way at Street Fighter, you have got to learn the moves. Mashing buttons is only going to get you so far.
You've got to learn how to do all that back, forward, diagonal turn, high kick, low kick, high punch type stuff if you really want to get far.
Call it impatience or a lack of coordination, but I just can't do it. But I have a fondness for these characters, and sometimes I want to play as them without frustrating myself or beating up on my thumbs. Fortunately, Capcom has created a game that lets anyone do just that. It's called Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, and it's an adorable gem of a game. Pun intended. Sorry.
Popular Street Fighter characters are combined with some from the Darkstalkers fighting game series in adorable chibi form to attack each other by matching gems of the same color and then smashing them apart with either matching colored crash gems or diamonds. The more you smash, particularly if you can do it in a chain of multiple colors in a row, it sends a devastating attack towards your opponent, which is either the CPU in solo games or a second player. While the chain attacks can be difficult to master and take a little bit of practice to get right, this is the type of game literally anyone can play.
While it's very similar in style to other Match 3 games, there's something about this particular variation that I just find so satisfying.
The small square gems transform into larger gems as you link them together, and there's nothing like hearing that large crash as you break apart a particularly huge one. There's also the fact that the 2 chibi characters are standing in the middle of the screen the whole time you play, and will unleash fighting attacks on each other as you send gem attacks back and forth. Since the name is a parody of the last edition of Street Fighter 2, it may seem a little confusing at first that only half of the characters are from that series. Ryu, Chun-Li, Ken, Sakura, Dan, and Akuma are here, but you'll also get to choose from Morrigan, Shenko, Donovan, and Felicia, who are all from the Darkstalkers series, another fighting game made by Capcom with a gothic horror theme. Morrigan and Felicia's chibi forms are a bit disturbing given that they look like children, but what can I say other than that Japan clearly doesn't care. My favorite character is actually the hidden character Devilot, who is from an obscure Capcom game called Cyberbots. When I'm not playing as her, I usually pick Shenko. Both of their counterattacks are the best because the gem arrangement doesn't provide your opponent with future fuel to hit you with. I also love the way Shenko says do 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 when she sends an attack at her opponent, as if to suggest she is completely and utterly bored with your attempts to fight her. As you would expect, while playing solo, the opponents get progressively harder, making it more difficult to progress through them. But seeing as how the gameplay doesn't change beyond having to deal with more of their attacks being thrown your way, losing in this game isn't nearly as frustrating as it is in some other games. You can just keep replaying that level until you get better at setting up the chains or unleashing an appropriate counterattack on your opponent.
Originally released in arcades, it was also released on the original PlayStation, which is when I picked it up. Believe it or not, this actually used to be one of the most valuable games I owned, as the release was fairly limited and demand rose once it was out of print.
Beyond the normal arcade mode, which lets you choose between easy, normal, and hard difficulty, there's also a street puzzle mode. This is where you can unlock things for the game, like alternate costumes, songs, and illustrations, as well as the codes to select the hidden characters. Back in 2007, Capcom released an HD remix of the game that is available for purchase through both the PSN Store and Xbox Live, so you don't have to go hunting for it anymore. A few extra gameplay modes have been added that weren't available on the PS version, and there's also online play. The Match 3 version is fun, and the rotation would definitely be a great challenge for more experienced players. But nothing beats the classic game mode for me. They also added an alternative mode to the original, which claims to create more balanced play, but honestly I did not see a huge difference between the two. Both X-Mode versions featured in HD Remix seem easier to me than the original game. They also obviously updated the graphics, as the HD in the name suggests. Since most of us do own HD TVs now, the upgrade does make the game a lot prettier and better formatted for your screen. The decreased difficulty will also limit your frustrations with the game, and there's an expert mode now if it feels a little too easy for you. Street Puzzle mode is now gone, as are a lot of the bonus features and alternate costumes. But the hidden characters are also much easier to select. This downloadable version is priced at $10. You can also find the original disc version for about $20. Either way, that's more than reasonable for an addicting puzzle game that you're sure to get many, many hours of fun out of.
You'll have to sit still. There's something about this particular variation that I just find so satisfying. Damn it. The game I'm highlighting today is an excellent jumping off point from those kind of casual games.